In a lonely corner of the universe, wrapped in the silver mist of distant stars, there lay a small galaxy known as Xiphron Way. The schools here were unlike anything humans could imagine. Their curriculum included exobiology, interplanetary cultural studies, and advanced battle tactics. And today, the top students of Xiphron High School of Exploration were on a special field trip to Earth. Narrator's voice. Earth, a planet wrapped in blue oceans and green lands, where every creature has evolved unique survival skills. To the alien students, this place was nothing short of a living laboratory. Scene. Inside the starship. The training hall of the ship glowed with soft, pulsing lights. 10 alien students, wearing their sleek metallic uniforms, sat strapped into chairs while a massive holoscreen showed a live view of Earth turning slowly in space. Their instructor, Professor Vorkthal, a towering being with 4 eyes and a shimmering blue exoskeleton, spoke into a hovering microphone. Students, our mission is to study Earth's creatures up close and learn about their defense systems. Remember, size and brute strength are never guaranteed protection. Students laugh. A tall, muscular student named Gronax let out a deep laugh. Professor, we've seen the files. These Earth spiders and bugs are toys compared to our battle beasts. We could crush them under 1 foot. Professor Thal only smiled faintly. Patience, Gronax. Earth has ways of surprising those who underestimate it. Scene. Landing on Earth. The starship descended through thick clouds, engines humming softly, before touching down in the heart of a dense rainforest. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, birds called from the treetops, and the distant rush of water echoed through the air. The alien students stepped out in their protective exploration suits, each equipped with scanners, translators, and biosample kits. First encounters. A colorful butterfly fluttered by, its wings shimmering in the light. The smallest student, Zofa, tilted his head. This doesn't look dangerous at all. Professor Thal's voice was calm. Danger is rarely what it seems, Zofa. Observing wildlife. The group ventured deeper into the forest, scanning every life form they encountered. Monkeys swinging through the trees, deer moving quietly through the undergrowth, a snake gliding across the forest floor. They collected data, recorded movement patterns, and kept a careful log. Yet so far, nothing struck them as particularly deadly. The first spiders. Under a large leaf, they spotted a tiny spider weaving a web. Gronax laughed again. This is your big warning, Professor. It's smaller than my finger. The professor didn't respond. His 4 eyes studied the tiny creature carefully, but he kept walking, building suspense. As they pushed further into the jungle, the group's scanners suddenly emitted a sharp, urgent alarm. The readout on their wrist displays showed an unusual reading, venom levels off the charts. The origin of the reading? Another spider, but one so small that even the spider under the leaf earlier would look like a giant next to it. Professor Thal's voice dropped to a low, almost ceremonial tone. Students, it is time for you to meet Earth's smallest killer. Our end of Section 1, Cliffhanger. The camera slowly zooms in on the tiny spider. Its bead-like eyes glimmer, its legs twitch with silent precision, and its delicate fangs gleam faintly in the light. The screen fades to black, and white letters appear. Never mistake small for harmless, especially on Earth. The rainforest seemed to grow quieter, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The alien students leaned over, staring at the spider Professor Thal had pointed out. It was barely the size of a grain of sand, its body a shimmering brown gold, almost invisible against the bark of the tree. Zofa squinted through his scanning visor. Professor, are you sure the readings aren't wrong? This thing's so small it could disappear if I blink too fast. Thal's voice was low, deliberate. Read the toxin index, Zofa. Scanner beep. The student glanced at the data on his wrist console. His forefingered hand twitched. Venom potency. Category X. Lethal dose measured in nanograms. Wait, this can kill a fully grown Xiphron warrior in seconds. A ripple of unease moved through the group. Gronax's confident grin faded, but he forced a scoff. It's still tiny. How would it even bite through my armor? Scientific breakdown. Professor Thal raised one of his hands, summoning a floating holo image above his palm. It displayed a detailed 3D model of the spider, a species so rare it was known to Earth scientists only through speculation. Its fangs, though microscopic, were needle-sharp and connected to venom glands capable of delivering a neurotoxin that shut down nerve signals almost instantly. This creature, Thal explained, is a master of stealth predation. It does not chase prey. It waits, motionless, silent. Then, in a burst of speed, it strikes. Even armored insects fall within seconds. On our homeworld, a venom this efficient is only found in apex predators. Alien reactions. One student, Slika, tilted her head, fascinated. But why so much venom for such a small body? It doesn't need to kill something our size. Thal nodded. Earth's small predators face large challenges. The energy it takes to catch prey is immense, so it must end a hunt quickly. Venom is its solution. The alien experiment. The group decided to observe the spider in action. Slika placed a tiny jungle beetle nearby. The beetle, much larger than the spider, began to crawl lazily toward the edge of the bark. The spider didn't move, not at first. Then, in less than the blink of an eye, it lunged. The fangs connected. The beetle convulsed once, twice, and then went still. The entire attack had lasted less than a second. Even Gronax was silent now. Gronax's challenge. But silence for him was temporary. All right, he growled. That beetle was a bug. I'm no bug. I'm the strongest in this class. I say we test it for real. Professor Thal's eyes narrowed. Gronax, this is not a wise idea. But the tall alien only grinned again. Don't worry, Professor. I'll wear my battle glove. Let's see if this killer can get through Zyphron steel. The fatal test. The others stepped back as Gronax extended his armored glove toward the spider. It stood perfectly still, almost as if it didn't even notice him. Then, a sudden blow. The spider had darted forward, its fangs striking between the plates of the glove, right at the exposed joint near his wrist. Gronax jerked back in surprise. It barely. He froze mid-sentence. His arm trembled. His legs gave out. His massive frame hit the forest floor with a heavy thud. Panic! Professor! His vitals are dropping fast. Slika shouted, her visor showing a cascade of red warning symbols. Thal moved quickly, injecting an antidote from his field kit into the vein under Gronax's neck ridge. Slowly, the readings stabilized. The professor looked at the stunned students. This is why we observe before we engage. Size does not equal safety. Data log entry. Zofa, still shaken, typed rapidly into his exploration log. Species, unnamed microarachnid. Size, approximately 0.9 millimeters. Venom potency, lethal to Zyphron physiology in under 10 seconds. Behavior, ambush predator. Status, avoid direct contact. As they prepared to move on, the spider remained perfectly still on its patch of bark, as though nothing had happened. Professor Thal's final words before they continued deeper into the rainforest hung in the air. On Earth, the deadliest things are often the ones you almost don't see at all. The forest air hung heavy with mist. The alien students walked in tense silence, their earlier excitement now replaced with cautious glances at every leaf, branch, and shadow. Gronax had recovered enough to walk again. Though his movements were slow, his pride more wounded than his body. Zofa kept looking over his shoulder. Professor, are we leaving that thing behind? Right? We're not taking it with us. Thal's gaze was fixed ahead. We're not here to kill or capture. We're here to understand. But I suspect this encounter isn't over. A predator watching. Unknown to the students, the spider had already moved. It clung to the underside of a vine, shadowing them. The forest sounds seemed to fade again. No bird calls, no insect buzz. Just the steady rhythm of alien boots on damp soil. Slika's visor picked up movement overhead. Something's following us. Before she could finish, a faint drop of silk thread drifted down in front of Gronax's face. His jaw tightened. Gronax's fury. You again. His voice was low, Dangerous. You think you can sneak up on me? Ignoring the professor's sharp stand down, Gronax. He reached up, grabbing the vine. The spider darted up his arm in a blur, vanishing at his shoulder. The fight begins. The students backed away. Their scanners screamed warnings. Gronax swiped at his shoulder, but the spider moved faster, leaping to a nearby log. For a moment, the two predators, one towering and armored, the other tiny and almost invisible, faced each other. Gronax activated his battle armor, plates sliding into place with a metallic hiss. This time, I'm ready. The spider didn't move. It simply shifted its stance, legs spread, fangs glinting faintly. The first strike, Gronax lunged, smashing his armored fist down. Bark splintered, moss flew, but the spider had already launched into the air, landing lightly on a rock behind him. The alien warrior spun, swinging his arm like a blade. Again, nothing but air. The spider was too fast, too small, moving in bursts that defied his reflexes. The spider's strategy. Through her visor, Slyker could see it clearly. The spider was baiting him. Every leap brought it closer to the vulnerable gaps in his armor, the joints, the exposed neck ridge, the inner thigh plates. "Professor, it's targeting his weak points," she called out. Thal didn't respond. His focus was on the way the spider moved. Not chaotic, but calculated. It wasn't just an instinctual hunter. It was a tactician. The fatal moment. Gronax, frustrated beyond reason, ripped off one of his gauntlets for more freedom of movement. That was the opening. A blur of gold-brown shot forward, landing on his forearm. Tiny fangs sank into the exposed flesh just above the wrist. Gronax roared, a sound that shook the leaves, but his knees buckled almost instantly. He tried to reach for the spider, but his muscles locked. His breath came in short, panic bursts. Chaos among the students. Vitals dropping. Zofa's voice cracked. "Get it off him!" Slyker shouted. But by the time anyone moved, the spider had already retreated, vanishing into the folds of a nearby fern. Professor Thal knelt beside the fallen warrior, injecting another dose of antidote. "You are alive because we prepared. Had this been in the wild without us, you'd be gone, Gronax." The warrior's eyes opened weakly. His voice was little more than a whisper. "It's not just small. It's smarter than me." Aftermath. The group gathered around, silent. Even the forest seemed to stay quiet, as if acknowledging the presence of something far deadlier than itself. Zofa spoke what everyone was thinking. If something this small can take down our strongest fighter, what else on this planet can do the same? Thal stood, scanning the treetops. That, students, is the point of this mission. On Earth, survival isn't about who's the biggest. It's about who knows how to win. As they prepared to move on, Slyker caught one last glimpse of the spider, perched on a vine high above. It wasn't fleeing. It was watching. The warrior may have survived, but the lesson has only begun. The alien students moved quietly through the forest, their earlier arrogance now replaced with caution. Even Gronax, usually eager to lead, stayed near the back of the group. Every rustle of leaves, every flicker of movement in the undergrowth, drew their eyes. They weren't just leaving a forest. They were leaving a battlefield where victory didn't belong to the biggest or the strongest. Professor Thal tapped his communicator. "Ship, prepare extraction. Coordinates uploading now." The starship's engines rumbled in the distance. Final glance at the Predator. As they neared the landing site, Zofa's scanner beeped softly. He froze, looking up into the branches above. There it was, the spider, sitting calmly on a curled leaf, its tiny form outlined by a shaft of golden sunlight. It didn't follow. It didn't flee. It simply watched them, as if letting them go was its choice. Slyker whispered, "It knows it's the winner here." Thal didn't disagree. On board the starship. Once aboard, the students removed their suits. Medical drones tended to Gronax, flushing the last traces of venom from his system. The warrior sat silently, his expression unreadable. "Report," Thal ordered. One by one, the students presented their data. Venom potency measurements, attack speed estimates, stealth movement analysis. All the numbers pointed to the same conclusion. The spider was not just deadly for its size, it was one of the most efficient predators they had ever encountered. Zofa's final line in his report read, "Recommendation: Zero engagement protocol. Avoid physical interaction at all costs." The journey home. The starship lifted off, piercing through the clouds into the black expanse of space. As Earth shrank in the viewport, the students felt a strange mix of relief and awe. They had come expecting to dominate their observations. Instead, they were leaving humbled, and in some cases, haunted. Slika leaned back in her seat. "It's strange. That tiny thing could have killed any of us in seconds. And yet, it just let us go." Thal replied, "Perhaps it didn't see us as prey. Or perhaps it wanted us to carry its story." Arrival on Xiphron Way. Back in their galaxy, the students' reports spread quickly through academic networks, military briefings, and eventually, public feeds. The idea that a creature smaller than a pebble could take down a Xiphron warrior fascinated and terrified billions. A Holo News host opened her broadcast with the headline, "Earth's smallest killer defeats galaxy's strongest warrior." Clips of the spider in action were replayed endlessly. Scientists debated its origins. Strategists studied its hunting methods. Even comedians made sketches about Gronax's encounter, though few dared to joke in his presence. The viral legend. The spider's fame exploded beyond the Xiphron system. Across the galaxy, on planets with environments nothing like Earth's, beings began to talk about the grain-sized death. Merchants sold holographic models of the spider. Schoolchildren wore badges shaped like its tiny silhouette. It became more than a creature. It became a lesson. of Gronax's transformation. Months later, Gronax himself gave a rare public speech. Standing before a hall of young cadets, he replayed the moment he was bitten. "I thought my armor made me invincible," he said. "I thought my size made me safe. That spider taught me that overconfidence is deadlier than any weapon." His words were met with silence, not out of boredom, but respect. Professor Thal's reflection. In his private quarters, Thal recorded his final field note. "We went to Earth to study strength. We found it in a form we least expected. This spider will never know the fear it spread, the debates it sparked, or the changes it caused in minds across the galaxy. But that's the way with true power. It doesn't need to boast. It simply exists." Closing scene. The final shot fades in on the spider back on Earth, perched on its web in the same rainforest. A drop of dew clings to the silk. In the distance, the sound of the jungle return, birds calling, leaves rustling in the wind. It remains still, patient, and utterly unbothered by the fact that it is now the most famous predator in the galaxy. The screen fades to black, and the final words appear. "Sometimes, the smallest things leave the biggest mark."